Welcome back, everybody. Cliff again. Wanted to come at you with some deep thoughts. Well, not so deep. Before the 4th of July holiday. Hope you have a happy 4th. By now, you should have access to the battle module on Vassal. So you can start to try that out and give me feedback on what you like, what you don't, what's working, what's broken, what's not intuitive. I included one sort of volcanic map. I think it's X. If you guys like that, I can make another like 5 volcanic maps so that we have something fun to play with on Okinawa or not. I mean, it's kind of up to you. So I want to talk to you today about the campaign, which for me is the main reason that I'm doing this. The battle module is nice and you can play battles, and yay, it's another combat module for you to play with on Vassal. You can't push cardboard, but you can play on Vassal. It has its advantages and disadvantages. But for me, combat is a role-playing game. I love RPGs, things like Starforged, or I don't know, I'm an old D&D guy from the 70s. I like to roleplay my characters, and I like things to develop. And what I want here is a campaign that feels thematic. I don't want to simulate history so much. This is not a simulation game. So it's not going to be historical, like really adherent to history. But I want it to be quasi-historical. I don't want you to scratch your head and go, well, that surely didn't happen in the Pacific. And this is what I struggled with for quite a while, which is why it took me 2 years to get this project kind of finally to the completion stage. There were a couple ways to go about a campaign. Some games use a paragraph system, like Ambush. Love Ambush. Or War Story Occupied France by David Thompson. Very prolific game maker too. Or Purple Haze. These give you a very narrative feel. They tell a story, but they only tell one story, and it's really, really hard to expand. I've tried to make my own modules for like Ambush because I wanted more battles to fight, but they're a bitch to make. So no, not going that way. The other way to go is just stitch together pearls on a string, like Trench Raid does in World War I, or Combat Volume 4 does in the Eastern Theater, where you roll up 10 or so random battles and you stick your guys through it, and maybe they evolve over time a little bit. They'll gain a skill. Yeah, that's a campaign, but it's not what I'm looking for. I want to get the feel of the Pacific Theater. I could have just made, one generic island. This is a Pacific island and you're fighting on it, and we pick some random battles and we do thematic things, and it doesn't really represent any particular island. I wanted something different. I want to follow the Marines during the progress of the war in a quasi-historical way, so I chose 8 because it seemed like a nice number. Of what I consider the iconic Marine battles in the Pacific. There were more to pick from, trust me. And I'm having them fight through 3. And let's launch this thing while I prattle on. And this is, you've already seen this. I want to talk about how I decided to structure this thing. So I decided not to do pearls on a string. I wanted to have like 3 islands they fought through. And we have our choice from our early islands, which are the red ones, Guadalcanal and Tarawa. And then to the intermediate one, Kwajalein, Saipan, Guam, or Peleliu, as we're moving closer in. And then the final battles in Iwo Jima or Okinawa, one of those. And the trick is, I want each of these islands to feel different, to have their own personality and not just be a string of generic Pacific islands. Which means I need to make them quasi-historical and have things that are representative of what actually happened there and how to do that. So I finally, after much trial and error, had sort of an epiphany. And I don't know about you, but I have most of my epiphanies either in the shower or on long car drives. I like road trips. I was in the shower and I had this idea. How can I use Ross's system to make each island act differently and kind of tell a unique story? And this is what I've come up with. So stop talking, Cliff, and just start showing. So obviously you're going to go through boot camp. You're going to roll up your guys and you're going to enter into Guadalcanal or Tarawa. Each of these 8 battles has 5 components. We have an introduction. And in the introduction, you get a welcome, kind of set the table, tells you where you're going to go next. So from Tarawa, you're going to go to Pavuvu for rest, refit, and retraining. And each island has 3 operational tables. There is a weather table. I didn't like Combat 2's weather table because it was just a monolithic thing and it didn't matter what season you were in. You just rolled for weather. And I made my own weather table, which is available in the files section on BGG for Combat 2, which makes weather much more sensible. So we roll by month. Well, Tarawa is only in November. It's only like 76 hours of hell. So you roll for your weather for your battles. We have an illness table that's unique for each island. The probability of your soldiers experiencing dehydration, which will make you essentially sick for a day. You might get dysentery, probably bacterial dysentery, which is treatable with sulfa drugs, make you sick for like 1d3 days. There's dengue fever spread by Aedes aegypticus, Aedes aegypti, the mosquito. Yeah, that doesn't have a vaccine or treatment, and that'll make you sick for 1d6 days, or you might get malaria and be sick for 2d6 days. Illnesses are covered in the rules for the campaign. So each island will have its own probabilities of experiencing dehydration, dysentery, dengue fever, or malaria, the main diseases the Marines faced in the Pacific theater. And then there's a battlefield scavenging table. By event, you might find Japanese stuff as you're rolling for events on your progress through your campaign. Or after each battle, if you get a minor victory, you can designate one soldier to search. And on their search roll, if they succeed, you get to roll once on the scavenging table. If you get a major victory, you automatically get to roll on this table. And you can find stuff. That's fun. But why? Well, I've created a whole black market system for you. Supplies in the Pacific Theater. The supply chain was kind of iffy. And the Marines were often scavenging for stuff and trading to tactically acquire stuff. So in our black market, you can trade in your stuff. There's consumable stuff here, like sake or roast beef. And there's non-consumable stuff like samurai swords and bayonets. The consumable stuff, they all have values. The high value stuff are like cigarettes and alcohol. Lower value, food, to augment your K rations and C rations, which suck. And the non-consumables have different degrees of desirability, from relatively low to moderate to high. Everybody wants flags and swords, and you can trade these things. The consumable, you can eat. If you eat 10 points worth of consumables, here we go, it's down here at the bottom. If you eat 10 points of consumables, you can up your base morale by 1. Here, I've changed these sheets just slightly. We have Elan, like before, which can go up to gung-ho or down to demoralized. We also have a base morale, which is what your soldier's morale is going to be when you come into a battle. It starts at normal, it can go up to bold, or as low as cautious. If your Elan here gets up to gung-ho, you'll add 1. So from bold you can go to aggressive. Or if it's all the way down to demoralized and you are cautious, it can go down to shaken. So you can start a battle anywhere from shaken to aggressive, depending on the state of your soldiers' minds. So this is a way to bump your morale by eating stuff. In addition, if you consume alcohol, like sake or beer, you can increase your squad's cohesion because you're buddy-buddy drinking alcohol. And you get to increase your morale by 1. But if you're drinking alcohol, they might overdo it and get hungover. So you roll a d10 on a 7 to 9. You're sick for a day because you're hungover. So 24 hours. The non-consumable stuff you can't eat, obviously. But you could trade it for some lucky strikes, the coin of the realm. So if you trade, so let's say you got yourself a pistol. You could trade that pistol for 10 points for some lucky strikes, which cost 10. And then you can smoke the lucky strikes as a squad and gain a morale, because that's up here at the consumable stuff. Smoking cigarettes gives you a morale. So you can get morale off of non-consumables. In addition, the non-consumables or the consumables can be traded for things. You can get some fresh dungarees and socks, which are always in short supply. The Pacific Theater was a wet, soggy, miserable affair. And this, if you get your dungarees and socks, is going to improve your morale by 1 and your elan goes up by 1. Max bold. You can trade for equipment like K-bar knives to upgrade your knives and your close combat skills, and one of your soldiers will gain a knife skill and be better in close combat. You can trade for a 1919 machine gun and tactically acquire one of those, no more than 1 per squad. You can give it to anybody in your squad. They're going to fire using their TQ. They'll suffer a penalty, and you won't have a whole lot of ammo for it. So if you run out of ammo during a battle, you can't reload it. You can reload between battles, so it doesn't ruin your machine gun. It's just you can't shoot it anymore in that battle. And you can also get some extra ammo, which will get you a reroll. So you can try a different reroll. The extra ammo works that way, or you can get a demo charge, up to 2 demo charges, dynamite packs to throw into caves and bunkers and trenches, foxholes. So you have to decide what you want to do as you gain this stuff, and it's all automated. So if you find some cigarettes and some canned food, you got 15 points, and you can record what you're doing here. So you can keep a log. I like to keep track of what I'm doing, so you can put anything you want in here. So if you say traded a pistol, I can type pistol for some lucky strikes. You can just keep your record. There's 19 lines here, enough for you to keep sort of track of what you're trading for. So yeah, you get your battlefield scavenging. You also have a calendar. This is a short one. So there's only 76 hours of fun. D-Day, you're always going to fight a landing mission on D-Day. And then you're going to move through the calendar like before. Here on a short mission like Tarawa, you'll probably be moving 1 box at a time. Morning, noon, evening, night. The morning might be daytime, might be nighttime, depending on early or late. Evening might be daytime or nighttime. Noon is obviously day. Night is obviously night. What's up with these plus 10 DRMs? This was my epiphany. I have event tables for each island. And for each island, when you roll an event, you don't roll a D100. You roll a D10. So you're only dealing with a band of 10 lines on your table. At this point, in the third box, you add 10 to your roll, so you move up 1 band. So each event table has bands of 10 lines. I have most of these worked out. This took a bit of work of reading historical works, fiction and non-fiction, and watching a lot of historical videos to figure out the flow of battle. There will either be missions or events. And at first, you'll roll on the first band. When you get to a plus 10, you go to the green band. You get another plus 10, you move to the next white band. And in this way, I can make different mixes of probabilities. Which missions are likely to come up? Which events are likely to come up? Are you going to be advancing 1? Or are you going to just be rolling again? So here, if I rolled a 7, I would 2 random events are dehydrated. They'd be sick, get a dehydration marker. And I have to roll again on this table until I get a battle. Or I advance here because I found some supplies. So here on 3, you find some supplies in a shell hole, roll on the scavenging table, advance 1 day, or 1 box. This is the big breakthrough for me. Every island has its own unique event table, and there are different missions you can encounter. They'll all be described in the mission parameters, which I don't have in here, but there's an overview. For each of the 8 islands, there are 12 possible tactical engagements. You'll always do number 1 first. Welcome to the island. So you'll come in on D-Day. Some of the islands are fairly unopposed, and it's a fairly easy mission. Some of them, well, yeah, you're going to have fun. Then 2 is like a probing sort of a patrol. You're going to be sent out to find the enemy disposition. You don't necessarily have to engage them, but you have to figure them out and get the information back. 3 is another kind of patrol-ish thing. I don't have patrols like Combat 2 has. You play them on the map. You're going to go out, be set out, and you're going to try to jump a Japanese squad, which will be on an attack setting, whereas here enemy dispositions are using the defend deck. Resupply and relief, you'll have other soldiers or a vehicle that are out and exposed, and you need to get out to resupply them or relieve them or help them to evacuate, and the Japanese will be pressing in on them. A seek and destroy is a sweep. Advance, the goal of advance is just to get across the map and exit the other side. You're moving up. Attack fortification, that you can guess. You're going after bunkers, going after caves, dug in tanks that'll be hull down. A meeting engagement where they're moving up and you're moving up. Infiltration, you're bivouacked for the night and they're pressing in. That is sort of like the second standalone scenario that I gave you. The attack formation is like the first standalone. I'm going to give you at least 1 standalone for each of these 12 eventually. I have other things I'm doing for the 4th with my family. It'll be after then. Enemy probe. They're sort of like an infiltration, but bigger. And there's a major counterattack, like Edson's Ridge. You're going to be dug in, and the Japanese are going to be coming at you in waves. And in Banzai, may the Emperor live for 10,000 years. There's bugles and whistles and clattering equipment, and here they come. Everybody will be Banzai from the beginning, and you better shoot straight, or you will be overrun. So each of these 12 have 10 different map configurations. So there are 10 different maps for Welcome to the Island for Tarawa, 10 different maps for Welcome to the Island for Guadalcanal, and there are 6 different enemy setup configurations for each of those 10 maps. So it's 8 times 12 times 10 times 6, which means for the next couple of months, I'm going to be setting up and putting into Vassal 5,760 different combinations. You should not play the same mission twice. Right now I have all of the introductions done. I have all of the calendars set up and putting them into Vassal and coding them, because the calendars, like what Greg Amos did for Combat 2, you can label them. Is there an event? Is there a mission? Is there no event? And I've given you 3 lines to make notes. So I could say Mission 1, Map 7. I could say Battle. Let me do that. It fits better. Battle 1. Map 7. Yeah. Here, that would be a mission. There. We'll make this one an event. And I could pick a line, like line 2, and I could say, found sake. If there's no event, there's no event. And here we have a +1. No event is for like if the thing tells you it wouldn't happen here in Tarawa, but in the Guadalcanal, which lasts for 5 months. Sometimes after a mission, it'll say mission advanced calendar 1D3 days. And if you roll like a 2, there'll be a no event, and then you'll be off in another. So there'll be a no event day. So I can vary the intensity of the action by determining how fast the calendar advances too. So in a long campaign like Guadalcanal, you're not going to fight every single day for 5 months. That would be too much. So the calendar will go in fits and spurts. You'll have a point where the calendar moves along breezily, and then you might hit an intense part where suddenly there are a lot of battles. The Japanese have reinforced with some Marines, and they're pressing on you, and then things loosen up again. So there's an ebb and flow. The campaigns breathe. That is how this all works. I mean, from here, you would just go off to Pavuvu, and in Pavuvu there will be different things where you will rest and refit. So there's going to be events to describe your interaction with in your squad, with people around you, with headquarters, and then there will be opportunities to train. So there'll be several things that happen, and you'll also have to reorganize sometimes because you might move from being like Series E in Tarawa to Series F as you move into places like Kwajalein or Saipan. So you might have to rearrange and organize your squad. That's how the campaign is going to work. I've already showed you out on the map how you track the campaign. So you start in Tarawa and move from Tarawa on to Saipan, wherever. And of course you can keep your notes here as I've described. So each of these 8 is different. Each of the 4 training opportunities are different. And we have our black market where we can trade for rerolls, improve our morale, improve cohesion. We can improve elan. You're going to need all the help you can get because the Japanese are tough. That's what you can look forward to. It's going to take me a month or 2 to get all of those scenarios in. I'll keep you up to date as I'm recording other stuff. And hopefully BGG will release that page soon. And once I have a page for the island hopping campaign, I'll be giving updates there regularly. Let me know what you think. I'm eager to get feedback. And I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great 4th of July.